Welcome to Attican Plays Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. All right, hi, this is Attican, and welcome to Series 4, Episode 1 of Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. I laugh because I just had no intention of doing a Series 4 this soon, but for those of you who've been following along, you'll know that in Episode 7 of Series 3, got an update right in the middle of it. Well, as at the beginning of that episode, basically. And that update included pollution. And we were using a model where it was walk to work. So we had apartments very, very close to the factories. The factories were emitting pollution, which didn't count. It wasn't even in the game yet. But it suddenly became in the game, and it turns out that not only does pollution make you cough a bit or feel a little off, it kills you. It kills you in a plague-like proportion. So the plague descended upon our republic. We went from 2,613 population in 5 years down to 892. And we were running a very tight economy anyway, so trying to recover from that was it was not going to make it. But the good news is that the folks in Moscow have shown unusual pity and said that based on the circumstances of the rules changing, we get one more chance. So we're going to start again with Series 4, and I don't know actually how much gameplay we're actually going to do in this one because I got a lot of things I want to cover. But we're going to do it as we usually do. We're going to get all the hardest settings, and we're going to start in 1960. I can't picture a harder way to play it. We will definitely enable the pollution. We're going to deal with that. And I wish they had the global events, but we're going to kind of make up our own here in a way. So let's start this thing. And I want to do one thing here. I hit start, and I'm actually going to do one other thing. I want to show you something that I don't think people are getting based on what I'm reading on Steam forums and people talking about how they play the game or whatever. I don't think people are getting this. And please give us a mini map, please. All right, so, speaking of maps, here, let's just go there first. All right, I want to show you something cool I found. No credit to me, though. There's a user on Steam called MummyPig, MUMMY_PIG. This is a guy. I confirmed it with him today. A guy named MummyPig. This is apparently taken from a show that is not familiar to me called Peppa Pig, I believe. British show, cartoon show. Kids love it. I actually checked with my wife today, and she confirmed that, yes, kids over here watch it. In fact, my daughter-in-law's niece loves Peppa Pig. But anyway, the MummyPig has done some absolutely lovely work. And here, look at this. Look at this. There, I just gave MummyPig a standing ovation. I lied, a sitting ovation. So this is a map of our map, and it has the topography in it. The darker it gets, the higher the mountains are. The lighter parts are the flat areas. It has all the export-import stations on it for all the Eastern Bloc and all the Western Bloc. It even tells you large, medium, or small station, which tells you if it has 0, 1, or 3 railway connections, whether it has just a limited truck spots or multiple truck spots. It's beautiful. And where it's really beautiful is, check this out. It's got all the deposits marked. Now, I think one of the great weaknesses in the game right now, I think they'll fix it, is there's no overview or overlay where we can see all the oil or all the iron or all the coal. Well, now we can on this map. We can see, for example, and just think back to the ones we played. Look at Molna right here. This the red's oil deposits. See the red out in the water as we've seen before up through here. Green is iron. So there's iron deposits here. There's coal deposits here. Over here is Mansk. That's what I call Mansk. It's where I keep building the coal and power. But look at all this coal right through here. Sure enough. And down here, there's the oil that we use for our refineries that we're over in Kaizina. And we can see where the iron and the coal kind of come together in places where that would be good places for like steel industries where you need both coal and iron. So this is just terrific. So hats off to Mummy Pig for making this. And then the other thing, while I'm on that subject, Mummy Pig also made an analysis, went through and got some of the prices for materials, and kind of went through it and did some analysis of, well, when does it make sense to auto build your stuff, and when does it make sense to outsource the building? In other words, to buy, local, which would be actually using construction maintenance and building it ourselves, versus outsourcing, which would be using auto build to have outside contractors come in and do the work for us. And his conclusions were, well, I tell you what, I'm going to give you the TLDR, the too long didn't read version. You should auto build. This is my interpretation of this data and Mummy Pig's analysis. Auto build factories because of the time factor. It just takes too long otherwise, and you need to be making the money from them. You need the goods from them. Auto build your power, all your power connections like your lines and stuff like that, conveyors and pipeline. Now the reason being that the bulk of the price for these items lies in the materials. So this is particularly true as you're starting out. Doing the construction management does you very little good because all you're saving are the people. Now that matters, but I would rather trade off that versus the time to get this stuff up and running. But you definitely would want to think hard about using construction management to do roads, to do playgrounds, to do your flats, the places where people live, and the services. So in other words, build your downtown living areas with construction management. Auto build your factories, your power, your oil lines, all that kind of stuff. I like this because it kind of puts some real numbers behind the thought process. As you know, I tend to auto build a lot, and I do construction management because I know many of you are wanting to see it. And now I feel like there's a reason for doing it. There's a logic behind when to do it, when not to do it. And I'm thinking back to Series 2, we were doing pretty well. We built auto build for a while till we had an economy, and then we started building out communities with our construction management. That went okay. So, yeah. So I think that's really useful. So once again, thumbs up to Mummy Pig. All right, so let's talk about what we want to accomplish in this playthrough. We want to try to get the things that we've set up as goals, because as I've told you, I need a goal, I need an objective. I can't just free build. Free building to me is boring. But we're going to do our goal of by the time Ronald Reagan's elected in November 1980, we're going to have our people adequately educated, supplied, and happy, and we'll be economically strong enough to withstand pressure from the United States to abandon the Soviet Republic. And if we do that, we'll win the Modak Medal of Honor. Now, the way we're going to test for this is we're going to, for a period of 1 year, we'll pick the starting time, but it has to be obviously prior to this date. We will pick a year where we turn off all imports of alcohol, food, clothes, meat, and electronics in our shops, and we will still maintain a happiness of 95%. And at the end of that year, we will check education levels and make sure that we have 90% of our adults with an education level of at least 1. And we can refine this. If we hit that, we will win the Brindle-Cow. We will make the Brindle-Cow Honor Roll. Then we're also going to have a strong economy, annual trade surplus of at least 2 million rubles. And forgive me, I named this one after myself because it's just so me. The Attican Capitalist Pig plaque will win that if we get to 2 million rubles. And we're going to have an annual trade surplus with the Western Bloc of at least $500,000. And that'll give us the molybdane, and I have no clue how to say that word, but that's how we're going to say it on the channel, the molybdane Trusted Trade Partner Award. And then, as an optional stretch goal, if we keep going with this, we will have, by the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, we will be capable of being independent of imports. So we will be manufacturing everything that the game allows you to manufacture, and that will include cars and all that good stuff as well. And that will give us the Dermot Independence Award, and that's a reference actually, a rather indirect reference to my son who helped me come up with that one. So, so there we go. That's what we're going to be shooting for. And we've got our map now that we can do our plan. Now, the other thing is, I looked at the planning for the game, and the thing I didn't like about the planner that I'd built so far is it didn't really tell me, can you do this or not? It told me, boy, you'd like to do this. You could sure make a lot of money, but can you do it? So I did some more work and put in the cost for the buildings. And now I can set up a plan and say, well, what am I going to build out? What's it going to look like? And then it calculates all the costs for me, tells me how much my total upfront costs are that I've committed to, and it tells me how quickly can I get back to 1,000,000 rubles, which is to me kind of that point where you can afford to go into another big venture. How fast can I get back to 1,000,000 rubles if I take this route? And how many months does it take me to recoup my investment? So I'm just making profit from then on. I'm not paying out anymore. So I'm using this to kind of figure out what to do next. And honestly, if you're going to play this on the hardest levels, bitumen and fuel is it's the way to go. Now there are some other perfectly possible ones. I know some of you like to do the food and alcohol and put in a farm. So I've got this set up. I can do food and alcohol, and we'll do an agro farm and target having 80% efficiency in those two. 100 is a bit much to target. But if we do that, that's a viable, perfectly viable option. But this is very interesting. If we do the agro farm, that would give us the no imports route. So that means that in 5 months, we could get back up to 1,000,000 rubles, theoretically. And in 10 months, we could recoup our investment. Now, this is interesting, though. Watch this. If I take out the agro farm, which reduces the expense of this, now I'm importing my crops. Look at this. I can get back to $1,000,000 in 5 months without the farm at all. So what was it with the farm? 5 months, the same period. Now, what's nice though with the farm, you recoup your total investment faster because now you're moving over here into these no import dollars, which are much better for 30-day period than the ones with the imports, of course. But I would actually be inclined to start out with the no farm, get this going, import crops and make money on them and start recouping my investment and getting back up to 1,000,000 so I could feel like I could keep going and do other things. And then right after that, build the farm. And then that would allow you to slowly morph into that. And I will say one other thing about this. It says 5 months. It will not be 5 months. It'll be more like 12 or 15 or whatever. There is a ramp up period. You don't just build all this stuff and suddenly you're at 80% efficiency in food and alcohol and stuff's just flying out the door. It takes a little while to kind of ramp up, but it isn't too bad depending upon if you've really planned this out so you've got all the money you need to get this done in the first place. So there's the food and alcohol approach. A lot of people like clothes. Look at clothes. Clothes are interesting. And I know some of you are bored to death by this. Many of you have already gone. Bye. Come back tomorrow, so to speak, and you can watch us play. But this to me is actually, frankly, is more interesting than playing the game. Sick, but true. All right, let's just turn off the alcohol here, and let's just say we're going to do clothes. And if we want to do clothes at 80% efficiency, what could we do? Well, the good news is we'd still be at $1,000,000 because it wouldn't cost us a whole lot to put that in. But the bad news is that it would take us forever to recoup our investment. So we certainly wouldn't want to do one close. Now, we could do 2 close. Now, that's a lot better, 19 months. Then, if we could get into the no imports, if we added fabric, how would that be? If we added fabric to the mix, Now we're just down to the chemical imports. So we're probably somewhere in between these two. And we could climb back up and have money in 4 or 5 months. And we could pay this off somewhere around a year, let's say. I'm just guesstimating because the chemicals are still out there having to be imported. And of course, we can't do chemicals right off the bat. So this would be a reasonable plan. We'd have to throw in an agro farm to actually get over this way. And at no imports, of course, in this case is lime because we still don't have chemicals. But that's a possibility. I don't see that's not strong enough to me. That's too slow for playing it on the hardest levels. So you know which one's the best, don't you? I mean, it just is. The bitumen and fuel is the best. And the thing about the bitumen and fuel is you can't target having tons of workers right off the bat because there's not enough money for it, because you've got to build an infrastructure. And I'll walk through this very quickly. You've got to build an infrastructure, and that's too much money. That's more money than you have. So what you probably want to target is, let's say we could do 25% efficient refinery. 125 workers we could keep in there pretty steadily. That's still 1 million rubles of upfront costs. That's a lot. That's still cutting it close. But if you could do that, look at how quickly you would be getting back your investment. And also look at how you could target this. You could set this up as your first phase. As you made profit, all you have to do to raise your efficiency is build more flats and recruit more people. And you just keep raising that efficiency. And then if you could get it up to like 80%, then you are really, truly making money. So I could see after a couple of years of doing this, with accounting for the ramp up and everything else, you would be truly making money with this. And then you would have the funds to allow you to do everything else you want to do. And again, I'll reference back to Series 2, where we were kind of nailing it. We really were. We had construction stuff going all over the map. We had all kinds of neat stuff. And unfortunately, my computer just couldn't handle it. And that's why we didn't finish Series 2. It was that simple. So we've had a little string of bad luck here, but we'll get one going. And I wanted to avoid doing the same old start again, but I cannot ignore the facts that it is the best way to start on the hardest difficulties. Now, if we weren't playing on hardest, then who cares? We could do whatever we wanted, but we don't want to do that. So let me walk you through this quickly. The reason I've got 0.6 cinema, we need cinema, fire station, we need a hospital, we need a kindergarten, we need a couple of playgrounds, a pub, a school, and a small shopping center. The small shopping center is a much more economical way to start versus a shopping center for your first city. But the reason it says 0.6 is we're going to downstaff it from 5 to 3. We don't need 5 people working the cinema to cover the small population we will have. We're going to only have 1 fire truck at the fire station. We're not going to need 100 people. We're going to downstaff it. We are going to, same thing with the hospital, we'll run it down to like 10 staff and 10 doctors max because we just don't need that many to cover all of this. And the pub, same thing, we'll go from 5 down to 3 employees. The school we want staffed, and the shopping center will cut it down to at least half, if not a little less, of people there. Oh, and I've still got that agro farm in there. Let's take that out. That'll make this number look a lot better. Let's go up here and put that 40%. Okay, 40% goal is only 1 million. That could actually be done. That's a very doable number, because what I don't have in here would be rail lines and train stations and bus stops and bus stations and fuel and those things. So you can't just go here, I got 500,000 American, I got 1 million rubles, let's spend 1.5 million. You can't do that, because you've got to have other money for things that there's no way I want to try to predict. I could, but I don't want to try to predict the cost of all that stuff in a spreadsheet. It's way too game dependent, to where you're going to build dependent. All right, so that's more than enough talking about this. So hopefully the plan you see here is a minimal but fully functional city with everything that we can provide to our workers, We're going to have like a rail. I'm going to do rail. We're going to do trains. We're going to do rail connections between the factory and the town in order to avoid the pollution problem. And besides that, they're cool. And we will probably export, believe it or not, by truck to start with. So that means we're going to build this right on the border to get the best import price we can. Because I've got this little thing up here to fudge it. If you go out in the middle, maybe you could have like a 20% increase in the cost of your imports in order to cover the delivery. But we're going to keep it down at 5, and it could be even less than that. So we'll have very good profitability by building this close. So that means it's going to look a whole lot like the start we had for Series 2. But I do want to show you one other thing. This is why I said, besides the fact I'm talking too much, this is the other reason that we're not going to have a whole lot of play in this one. This is more like introduction, because we're going to go back to the map and we're going to look and we'll notice, of course, if we think of this as north, Molna and Sahalis, that's the north side. The east side of our republics, the Kara-Dabag, Kaizina side. And then over here in Borislav and down to Znatov and Zvenyamin, that's the west. And then, of course, the south down here, a whole bunch of names I can't pronounce. So notice how we've got Eastern Bloc, Western Bloc, and Western Bloc. So just keep that in mind as we go into the game. And this first one here is probably going to be a throwaway because I want to show you something. I'm going to build 5 coal power plants, just as an example. And I'm going to try to build one, if I can figure out, and this is where, again, we need a mini map so I can tell where the middle is. But let's just say, for this purpose, this is close enough. So there's one right there in the middle. I'm going to turn that off. Okay, so that one's in the middle, so I'm going to leave it like here. So now let's go over and say we decided to start in our kind of usual spot of Kaizina and Kara-Dabag, which is up here. So that's strictly on the Eastern Bloc side. And we're going to build a coal power plant in some flat spot. I just want to get something that's close and I don't have to pay. There we go. That'll do. So there's one that's close, and that's our Kaizina one. So we'll put it over here on the eastern side. And then let's just do one more as an example. Let's go over to that Borislav and Smolyazovka, or whatever that is. All right, Borislav and and Small Town over here. And let's put a power plant over here. Now, do we intend to build 3 power plants? No, of course not. But what I want to do is I'm trying to illustrate something for you. So let's just put it in the corner. It doesn't make a lot of difference. Somewhere it's got to be a flat spot somewhere. Come on. You got to have one flat spot. Oh well, I'm going to have to terraform a little bit. It doesn't matter. All right, so there's our 3. So let's. Oh, I closed one of them. I did not mean to do that. All right, I did mean to close that. So there's our western border one. Here's the one that's more or less in the middle of the map, and then we got to go find the one in Kaizina again. Sorry. If I can see it. There it is. All right, let's open this one up. Okay, so now if we look at these 3, we've got the far east bordering 2 eastern blocks. We've got one in the middle of the map. We've got one over there at the kind of the Eastern Bloc, Western Bloc border. Now look at the cost of building this thing. And boy, I got to turn these off. Okay, so on the middle of the map in rubles, 241. On the eastern border, two eastern borders, 206. On the western border with the western bloc and eastern bloc nearby, 206. So these two are both around 206. The one in the middle is 241. It costs 35,000 more rubles to build that one in rubles. Why? Because, of course, you have to pay for moving all that stuff out there to the middle of the map. All right, that one we knew, right? But here's the one that's more interesting to me. If we go over here like we've been doing to the Eastern Bloc side, 373 to build this in dollars. And I was writing that off to exchange rate. I was being stupid. I apologize for being so stupid. 373. The one in the middle in dollars, 304. See, this one's actually more expensive. And the one near the Western Bloc, 257, which is kind of more or less in line with the rubles. The rubles are a little stronger currency, but this is more in line. You could actually do this. So my point to all this is, one, do not start on the hardest difficulties in the middle of the map unless you're just trying to make it really hard on yourself. Do not do that. So this one's out. Secondly, start near both borders. If you've got 1.5 million total funds, you've got 1 million rubles and $500,000, make those dollars worth more. Don't build over here where the coal plant or power plant is going to cost you almost $400,000. Build it over here where you can get $250,000. You could get almost 2-for-1 value out of that. It's not quite that much, but I hope you get the point. Build this near both borders, the Eastern and Western Bloc. That's the strong place to start, because that's where you get the most. That way you've got truly 1.5 million to work with, and you can actually build a more aggressive plan from the get-go, start making more money faster, and that allows you to speed up the entire build of your republic. So anyway, that's that. So where are we going to start? We're going to start, I think, right where we showed that power plant. We will start in this area. There's plenty enough room here. There's now it's pretty far from. Well, you know what? The other place that's good, and this was just a happy accident. I did not understand the game well enough before to do this, but we put it right here next to Molna. Now, I will give myself credit for saying, yes, we wanted it near the border to cut down on the costs. I didn't realize I was also getting it closer to the western border and cutting down the American dollars. I wasn't that bright. But somewhere in here would be a great place for a refinery. And we can move the oil like so over there to through Molna into this area over here for our refinery, build a beautiful, profitable refinery, and have $1.5 million or 1.5 million total funds, dollars and rubles, to work with, and our dollars will be stronger. So that's the plan. If anybody's still with me, we will get on that in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Workers and Resources Soviet Republic video. Thank you.